Well, so much is going on right now in society. I wanted to start this broadcast off a little differently because if you're anything like 90% of America and you feel sick and tired half the time, then this video is absolutely for you to watch. In today's broadcast, I want to bring on someone special, someone who I've never brought on the broadcast before. His name is Jonathan Otto. He is an investigative reporter specifically in the medical field, which is why I love him. He's got millions of followers, done some amazing videos and films with over hundreds of millions of thousands of views. And he really focuses on red light therapy, and things that can overall make the body better. And I'm excited actually to bring this video to you because, a lot of the times there's a lot of bad news, right? Bad news being, we've got GMOs, we've got stuff that hurts the body, chemicals, Roundup and stuff in the ground, GMOs in our food, and none of this stuff is the best for our bodies. And we've got to have some kind of plan of attack. So with that, let me bring him on. Jonathan, are you with me over there?
I am, Lisa. It's so lovely to be with you.
Well, I'm excited to have you on today's broadcast. Like I said, I'm very interested in the stuff that you do. But give, I guess, a short background about what you offer and who you are, for those who may not know.
Yeah, of course. So I'm an investigative journalist. I love helping people solve problems, and so I naturally have an ability to work out what is the real problem, what's the mechanism, what is actually causing this, and how do we solve it. So going back 20 years, I found myself in all different places around the world, like from Tanzania to Mozambique, developing countries that were undergoing everything from human trafficking to starvation and poverty. And it was all about problem solving. That's why I got a degree in journalism and media production, so I could communicate. But as I went deeper into research as it relates to human suffering, I found that disease was actually caused by a lack of knowledge, and through manipulation and through coercion. Lots of things that people are very aware of based on things that have happened over the last few years now. But I started to get really clear on what was going on, what was actually driving disease, and what was at the root of it. And so I went deep into research and found answers and solutions that, fast forward to today, I am frequently and on a daily basis being used as a training resource for medical doctors, holistic doctors, the whole range of experts within the medical field, as for my training resources that I produced, and it's an honor because when these people have an open mind and they're able to access things that have come about because of people like yourself, Lisa, that have open minds. The reason why people follow you is because you're able to understand what's going on, draw the links between things. The same thing is happening with health, and that's why I've been able to be very successful most importantly in helping people actually get better from all kinds of mysterious illnesses, and hence why we are having this conversation.
And you know what? I want to expand on that because big pharmaceutical over the years, their answer has always been here, drug, forever drugs, right? And that's why I think what you're doing and what you're about to drop in my video today is so huge, because the truth of the matter is nobody wants to be on forever meds. We want to do something that's productive and helpful. And I think you've got, kind of through the cracks, other options that can help people, which is why you're so important, because you focus very much in the medical side of journalism and all of that. I'm more on the other side, like the newsy side, which is why I think what you say is so important and very relative. But big pharmaceuticals got many secrets. Everybody's done with it. And, there's a big battle going on with that right now between RFK and America as well. So there's hope. But with that, tell me a little bit about your biggest finds and how they've helped people.
Absolutely. So 10 years ago, I was a producer on a series called The Truth About Cancer. Okay, so that became one of the most well-known, the most well-known resource for holistic solutions to cancer. And so I went deep under the hood back then 10 years ago. And then RFK Jr. like in the following couple of years. He was in the films that I was producing. So this has been a long time coming for people like myself that, and there's people that have been in decades longer than I have, but a lot of people have been waking up over the last few years, but to be ahead and to have that ground going back over a decade, 2 decades really began my discoveries. But some of the things that we found are so important to have dramatic implication for people when it comes to being able to actually solve the problem from the root. And that ranges, for example, from whether it's a thyroid issue that someone's facing, which many of your viewers, I would suspect, yeah, you're nodding, because this is so common. It's almost like, did our thyroids intentionally get targeted? And yes. Did your liver intentionally get targeted? Yes. It's certain organs in your body are heavily targeted by environmental toxins that have no checks and balances, and then you get fed into the pharmaceutical industry, and so each of these industries are profiting from you, hence the dollar sign, being actually like very similar to the medical symbol. Is that a coincidence? And it actually has Greek mythology attached to it. It's a serpent actually on a staff, both the dollar sign and the medical symbol. It's telling you something. It's the whole thing is a big trap. And so when it comes to solutions, then you have to look at what are the things that actually cause the body to thrive. Why does disease thrive in the body? And the number one thing to understand is voltage is a big part of the reason that disease thrives, because your cells can't perform their functions if they don't have the electricity to do so. They don't have the voltage, they don't have the power. And how do they have the power? And the answer is the mitochondria, which account for about 25% of the cell, particularly in organ cells. Thyroid cells, heart cells, brain cells have thousands of mitochondria per cell, liver cells, and that they surround the nucleus. When the mitochondria are fed with light, they produce a substance called adenosine triphosphate, ATP, and this is how cells generate energy and perform their functions. So what happens if they don't generate energy? They can't perform their functions, which also means that it can't replicate and proliferate with stem cells that your body needs to replace organs. That's how your body survives. That's how you actually replace organs on a year-to-year basis for most organs, for example. When you fuel the body with light, you're then also able to penetrate the cells and kill parasites, which is fascinating, intracellular parasites that are interfering with mitochondrial connectivity, and then it interferes with the mitochondrial stem cell connection, which is how your body, again, does this regeneration. And then once all that happens, then things start going south. And I'll give you some examples. There was a study on PubMed, and I'll flash some of these up on screen. These studies are almost unbelievable. A breast cancer study. This is where they tested 4 different wavelengths for breast cancer. And you can see this here, fine. Yeah, awesome. So here in this breast cancer study, they're testing 4 different wavelengths, which were 615, 630, 660, and 730. So people would be like, well, what are those numbers? And the answer is that anything in the red is around the 600 to 700. So that's all red. If you go much higher than 730, you're heading into near infrared, so you can't see it. But all the way up to 1100, that's where you've got that near infrared. That's all the optical window within there. So hence why they were testing it, because there's a thesis that they're running off to even conduct the study. But then they found here that the results showed that the 660 nanometer wavelength significantly reduced cell viability, which means the functioning and the progression and the effectiveness of the cells, which is, in this point, they're cancer cells. So you actually want to decrease their ability to do anything. And it reduced it by 40% at 24 hours post-exposure, meaning they irradiated it with the light, and then 24 hours later they test it and they see that there's been a 40% drop in this cell proliferation. This is the clinical study on PubMed to show you that I'm not just writing things in a PowerPoint. 24 hours post-exposure time point, only the LED red light with the wavelength 660 out of the 4 that were tested. So wavelengths matter, so people need to know that. Possessed anti-proliferative effects against both cell lines, which is both triple negative and non-triple negative breast tumor cell lines, with a 40% reduction of cell viability. Okay, so then you start to these are big discoveries. This lymphoma study is one that I've cited for audiences because while it's a small study, there was only 3 participants, but all 3, as you'll see there in the the conclusion, all patients achieved complete remission after up to 2 PDT sessions, which is photodynamic therapy sessions, which is when you actually, in this case, they've combined something called ALA, which is aminoleuvolinic acid. The ones that people are getting very familiar with is methylene blue, which is a photosensitizer. And they all achieved a complete remission of after 2 sessions. And here's the clinical study here on PubMed. All treated patients, and this was 630 nanometers. Again, different wavelength. Does it mean that 660 wouldn't have worked? Not necessarily, but in this case, they've just tested the one. But now we know this. We can't necessarily ignore that that's what they found, and that's the result they achieved. It's a specific parameter. So you arguably have to go with what's proven. All the treated patients had complete remission, defined as a clinical and histologic complete absence of cutaneous B-cell lymphoma after a maximum of 2 photodynamic therapy sessions at a 1-week interval. No patient experienced particular side effects, and the pain was easily managed after the PDT sessions.
And that's huge. I mean, these are studies that have been done, you know what I mean? So it's very interesting to see the results of that and what is going on. And by the way, if you guys want to check out the website, I'm going to leave that below as well. But it's myredlight.com, and he's got all kinds of information on there. I want to encourage you guys to check out legitimately. Please check it out. And you can use the code Lisa. It'll get 10% off, I believe, on anything on the site, right?
Yeah.
But kind of expanding a little bit more, I mean, what a find. You know what I'm saying, for something like that. And I'm guessing you've helped millions of people at this point with your work.
Yeah. Yes. And I just wish it was billions. And that's what we're working on. And some of the things that we're teaching people to do as well is just to get out in the sunlight. If people they have nothing, then buy a $10 red chicken bulb, and it will help you. It will help you. Does it have this study to back it? And the ones I showed you, which were specifically based on LEDs, they don't. But we're finding that there's evidence showing, and people immediately get results when they do it. They feel better, typically. But so that people know the difference, that the LED is channeling about 90% of the energy from the power into light, whereas in any other kind of bulb, like an incandescent or a halogen bulb, about 90% will go into the heat, but not into the light. Whereas when it goes into the light, then like 90% into the light, well, like with LEDs, light emitting diodes, notice all the studies, there was specific LED technology, then you're able to feed the cells, the mitochondria. Mitochondria receive this, and it performs those functions, which includes the generation of reactive oxygen species. Your body will produce this in stimulation to red light, and it will then produce these reactive oxygen species like singlet oxygen that cause apoptosis of tumor cells. And that's what all the studies are saying when you look at them, which is programmed cell death. And so this is how your body clears out diseased and damaged cells, including like thyroid cells. Like let's say, for example, somebody's not producing the thyroid hormones. They have high antibody test, their thyroid is being attacked. Yes, you should go gluten-free, get wheat out of the diet because it's attacking the thyroid because of something called molecular mimicry. And yes, you should have the best diet you can and do these different things. But the light therapies, what they've shown in clinical studies is even when they do the studies terribly, like for example, they gave one group, they gave them light for 3 weeks, just twice a week for 3 weeks, or twice or 3 times a week for 3 weeks. And then they tested them 3 months later. They get them off red light for the next 2 months, and then they test something like that, and then they test them 3 months later, and even still their intake of levothyroxine to supplement their hormones has dramatically dropped just because of that exposure that they had a couple months ago, let alone the fact that the study should have been done where they could ideally do it daily, and they should do it for 3 months and then test them and watch what happens and see how I've seen so many cases where then people are getting off these medications and they're naturally producing their thyroid hormones. Why? Because mitochondria have an abnormal amount in thyroid cells. There's thousands per thyroid cell. What are they needed for? To produce hormones. The cell needs energy to do whatever it needs to do. It can't do anything without energy. So what do you want? And you want better liver function, better kidney function? Well, how about you give energy to the cells and then watch them just do what they need to do. Don't even think about all the problems. Think about what do your cells need? Give your cells what they need. They need oxygen, and red light therapy is an oxygen therapy.
And I love that. And here's the thing: two of my best friends, like my closest friends, both have Hashimoto's. And not a lot of people know. Yeah, not a lot of people know. And I'm like, what are the chances both of you have that? And my mom has thyroid. I've been tested. I'm fine, at least for now. But I'm like, so it's definitely something, that grabs a lot of interest. And there is a lot of that. So I'm going to recommend it to my friends as well. But it's just amazing because I've heard so many good things about your work and what you're doing. And I really want to encourage all of you listening out there, check it out, for your health, for what's going on in your life. It's definitely something worth trying. But with that, Jonathan, what are your concluding thoughts on everything? How can people reach out to you? I know I've got the website there as well, and all of that information.
Absolutely, Lisa. No, thank you for your time. It's been amazing. So you can find us there at myredlight.com. We've got great training resources. We go through, like you just saw, like a snapshot. Imagine like 3 hours of that with me going through it, all the presentations and slides. Because light therapy goes back to the early 1900s. There was a Nobel Prize won in 1903 by Niels Finsen. So think about how much research is there that you didn't know about, and how it's been, solving problems for people for millennia, like over 100 years now, and millennia, because it's the therapy our ancestors knew. They were using the sun for these things, and now we've got even greater abilities to tap into this, because something called irradiance is so much higher. And that just brings me to when you're looking for what to do when it comes to red light, because you hear of all these great benefits, the biggest problem and question becomes, what do I do? What do I look for? And so the thing that I want to just make clear to you guys is to give the parameters by which you should look for something, so that you make sure that you are doing what you're reading about. Because you read a study and then you just like kind of throwing a Hail Mary, going somewhere like on Amazon and then saying, well, is this the one? But then the thing that you don't know is something called irradiance. How much power is it delivering? Because if it's not delivering enough power, then those studies are irrelevant. It's not going to mean anything to you. So that's measured typically in milliwatts per centimeter squared. And to give you an example of what we did, we made sure to have the highest irradiance of any device tested, which is 205 milliwatts per centimeter squared at 3 inches. So that's like even the clinics that are you're paying $150 a session, they're typically using devices that are under 100 milliwatts at the surface or at 3 inches. So that's 9 wavelengths. We made sure, like you just saw, 5 different wavelengths or 4 different wavelengths that we talked about. There's more. They go up to 1060. They go down to 480. We've put all the wavelengths between that range, all the way from 480 up to 1060, a lot within the 600s and the 800s with the near infrared and the red. All 9 different wavelengths that activate certain parts of the body. So that was really important for us in the research to make sure we were getting people the best quality devices with that. They have rated lifespans over 50,000 hours, which means they actually last a lifetime, literally a lifetime. Like you calculate 30 minutes a day, which is the recommended time for 50,000 hours, and it goes well over 100 years, even if you've got a couple using it, even the whole family are using it. So you're really making an investment for yourself and for your future, because everything else you got to pay for it. Like I've just got a bottle of something here, right? You got to pay for that over and over again. Whereas in this case, it becomes cheaper than the cheapest supplement you could buy, because you have to stack that up over the months and years, and you'll find that it outperforms it. Not only does it supplement a lot of the things that you need, like a lot of skincare products and a lot of the things you're needing for your eyes and for your pain and all these different things, it's going to tick all these boxes. So it's a one kind of catch-all therapy, but it's able, because it's proven to do all those things. It's proven to activate stem cell regeneration, and once you work out that, then everything then gets solved. Eyesight gets solved. The clinical studies show 1 minute, 3 minutes of exposure in the morning was equated to a 17% improvement in eyesight after one session, and that was on a clinical study. So you can improve so many things, and then you're paying so little for that. You could do it on payment plans, and so it ends up being cheaper than anything else you're doing. And it's just, once people can understand that, they make an investment for themselves and their future, and you can look forward to a much better future. Everything else is like falling behind and then having to put out fires. They're expensive, And I see people give up their life savings for things like that. And that's what I'm working to prevent from happening to people. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. So you can find us at My Red Light and use the code Lisa. And we look forward to blessing and helping you guys so much.
Yeah, and I'm super excited. I'm excited for you guys to try it as well. But all the information is in the description box below. You can get that link as well, or you can go directly to myredlight.com. Don't forget to use the code Lisa. You'll get 10% off there. Anything on the site, make sure to enter that in. But thank you, Jonathan, for coming on the broadcast. I truly appreciate it.
You're welcome, Lisa. Thank you so much.
And thank you guys for listening. I'm so stoked for this. Anyhow, I love you all. I'm Lisa Haven, and that was Jonathan Otto signing out.